I get a lot of people ask me a lot of the times, kind of like, how do you build, a Forex strategy? And it's actually a good question because I feel like there isn't like an obvious answer. There might be one where it's like, oh, you go on YouTube and you search up, super high win rate or crazy profit strategy, but a lot of those are not good. So I wanted to do a video today on exactly how I build strategies, what I use to kind of supplement them, and then ultimately trade them and make money, so that if anyone wants to build their own strategy or an adaptation of a strategy that's out there, you can do that as well. So the first thing you need to do is take it right back to basics. And I say this all the time in a lot of videos. So things like structure, break and retest, support resistance, key areas, whatever it is. Choose something that you find that you understand well and that comes naturally easy to you. So for example, mine was market structure, and I'm a big advocate for market structure. I think it's a great thing to use because if you get the structure right, you get the direction right, and then all you need to do really is find a good entry. So it makes it a bit easier. But some people really struggle with market structure, or they struggle to see it as easily as other people or read it as easily as other people. So as I said, there's other things. There's break and retest, there's support resistance, trend lines, whatever it is you want to do. You just want to pick one of those or two of those, up to you, but just go back to the basics, because in order for you to build a good strategy, you're going to need the foundations, right? Like a house. When you build a house, you're not going to not put foundations in, because then if you go through a turbulent time, the house will fall over. So exact same with a Forex strategy. You need to basically pick something strong or a good foundation to have to build your strategy off. And then what you need to do is you could either go and find a strategy yourself, or what I think is easier is just go to YouTube or Investopedia or anything like that and find a strategy around the foundations you've used, right? So for example, market structure, go and find a strategy that involves a lot of market structure. Or if you choose support resistance, go find a strategy off that. Just please make sure that you pick a proven profitable strategy that has data supporting it, that is maybe from a trusted YouTuber or things like that, because you don't want to pick a strategy that doesn't actually work and then build your whole sort of trading around that. So make sure it has proven data, make sure it's from a trusted source, and make sure it is primarily involving the foundation that you kind of want to build upon. And then once you've got that strategy, the next thing you want to do is backtest it. Now, this is important to do because although it could be from a trusted source, it could have proven data, that doesn't mean that that is going to reflect in your trading. So you need to sit down and backtest the strategy to A, make sure that you understand it and that you can see it, and B, it works. So test it over COVID, test it over different financial periods, test it over normal years, test it over this year where Trump has basically made it an absolute hellhole to trade both CFDs and futures. But make sure you test it, have some accurate data that actually suggests that the strategy is profitable. Because what's going to happen is when you backtest these, say 5 years, you're going to start to see things that you want to change or you could improve, because that's their strategy at the end of the day. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work perfectly for you, or that is the only way to trade that strategy. There's going to be things that you prefer, things you want to change. For example, you might want to change the risk to reward, or the risk, or find a way to reduce the average drawdown, or the max drawdown, or the profit factor, or the Kalmar ratio. Whatever it is, you'll start to see things that you want to change or improve, that you want to build upon. So for example, when I took my strategy, I started noticing a lot of things about breaks of structure and structure, and that's kind of what I built my testing off, to kind of give me an edge, because at the end of the day, that's what you need. You can't just, well, you can take someone else's strategy and trade that, of course, but you always want to give it your own twist, your own spin, to make it as adaptable to your trading style, right? You want to make sure that you're tailoring your strategy to your style. So over those 5 years of testing that strategy, you're going to see a multitude of things maybe that you want to change, do differently, test, and that is great. So you make a note of all of that. And then what you need to do is backtest all of those individual edges. So for example, I had one on risk reward, I had one on when to close positions early, I had one on how to make breaks of structure more likely to win or be strong breaks of structure. And you go and test each of those for a year. You don't want to overdo it, because if it doesn't work, you don't want to waste your time testing it for 5 years. And of the ones that you've tested over a year, the ones that gave good or promising results, go and test them for another year. And again, see what happens, same again. And you're basically going to filter down all these edges that you may want to test to the point where you might have 1 or 2 that you've tested over 4 years and work, are actual edges, right? So you might start with 5, it goes to 3, 2, and then 1, or maybe you take those 2. And then what you need to do, and there is a lot of back testing here, but this is just the way that it worked for me. And if you really want to, get anywhere in Forex, you are going to have to get used to back testing. That's just part of it. Then you take the original strategy and you take the 2 new edges and you combine the data and you combine it together to test for another 5 years. Because what this is going to do is you're then going to have data on the edge itself. You already have data on the original strategy that you've tested. And now you're going to put the 2 together and test it for the same 5 years, the exact same dates that you did the original time that you tested that strategy. And after those 5 years, you're going to have 2 sets of data that you compare, because then you can see if the edges really have improved and adapted the strategy. And then at this point, you've built your strategy, you're set to go. You can go to the markets because you have data around the original strategy, you have data around all your edges, you have data from the new strategy with the edges combined that you can compare to the old ones, and you have full confidence around this strategy now. And you've built it off something at the foundation that you know exists. So like support resistance, that does happen. Market structure, that does happen. So you have confidence that the foundations are strong. There's what even institutional traders will use. So you have strong foundations, you have data to support it, you've taken potentially a strategy from a proven record on a website or on a YouTuber, you've tested that, it's profitable, and then ultimately you're going to be left with a very, very strong strategy that you can constantly adapt and improve because you now have all the data behind it. And that's exactly what I did. Obviously there are other ways, there might be more efficient ways, but I think that is the most foolproof method to actually build a strategy. So if you're sat there and you're tired of losing because you're using strategies you've seen on YouTube that has no data to support it, or things like that, this is exactly how I would go about building my strategy. And you can see this, I've done videos, loads and loads of videos. I've got a whole series around me backtesting a new edge currently that I want to implement into my strategy. So if you're not sure how I backtest or how to do that, go and watch those videos. They tell you exactly how to do it basically, but I've done tons of videos around that as well. So let me know what you think, give it a try, see what you think, tell me in the comments how you built your strategy. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, I will see you in the next one.